Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast B2B Edition, where each and every week we're talking to marketing professionals like you, going through many of the same struggles you're going through and sharing their stories. Subscribe to find in each episode the inspiration, the motivation, and the perspiration that go into growing and scaling organizations like yours. Now, listen. Are you struggling to make your B2B social media efforts truly impactful? Do you find yourself wondering why strategies that work for B2C brands seem to fall flat for your business? Well, you're not alone. Many B2B social media managers face unique challenges that can leave them feeling frustrated and unsure of how to proceed. How do you create engaging content for a seemingly dry industry? How do you measure ROI when your sales cycles are long and complex? And how do you build meaningful relationships in a landscape where decision makers are notoriously hard to reach? These are the puzzles that may keep B2B social media managers up at night. But what if there were ways to not just overcome these obstacles, but turn them into opportunities for growth and engagement? That's exactly what our guest today is here to help us with. Eva Trenova, the head of social media at Agorapulse, brings a wealth of experience and insights to our discussion. With her multilingual background and expertise in social media marketing, Eva has helped countless B2B brands navigate the complex world of social media. Her work at Agorapulse, our leading social media management platform, has given her a unique perspective on the challenges faced by B2B social media managers and the innovative solutions that can drive success. Her contributions to the field have made her a respected voice in the B2B social media community, and we're thrilled to have her share her knowledge with us today. Hey, Vik, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. What a great intro, indeed. Feel
It's
flattered.
my pleasure. Like I've always told people, you did all the work to get here and to earn that introduction. I'm just happy to have you with us to talk to us today. And I'm wondering if you could start by just outlining what you're seeing as some of the significant challenges that you're facing, that other B2B social media managers are facing, particularly compared to our B2C counterparts.
That's a good question. So, I regularly have conversations with other B2B social media managers, and the thing that we all agree on is the fact that, how to make sure that we reach our target audience, how to make sure that our content is authentic. And that's often that big challenge compared to B2C. Another big challenge is, of course, that within the B2B sector, especially when speaking about Agorapulse, for example, all the SaaS product industries, it's difficult to have visually engaging imageries compared to, let's say, the design industry or beauty and fashion sector. So these are the typical challenges, in terms of content that the B2B social media managers typically encounter. And this is also something that I have encountered, when I started here working at Agorapulse. But I think there are, new opportunities as well for us to seize within this and to be even more creative, because we have the field of opportunities. It's more maybe limited from the first approach, but then if we think about it more and you do this research, you understand the pain points of your customers, but also the strengths that your company has, then there is so much more that you can do with it. But you just need to kind of like dive in and really see what's working and what's not working. But definitely in overall for the B2B sector, it's about, being able to reach the customers and share authentic content that resonates with them.
I think that's the real key, actually, that resonates point, because it's a bit of a mindset shift. You and I were on social media all the time. And so we're used to seeing content that resonate with us personally. Like you mentioned beauty, right? I might mention, something about Star Wars, things that we see and we're like, oh yeah, I love that post. And then we get into our day job and we think we're supposed to create content that does the same thing, that reaches anybody and resonates with them personally. And we kind of have to train ourselves to remember, oh no. The people that we're talking to, they really are interested in our work topics. They're interested in knowing how we as an organization can improve their role, their job, their career, their profession. But it is still different. It is still somewhat boring, perhaps, in comparison. It can be very technical. So, how do you see B2B brands creating engaging content for industries despite being boring or technical?
Well, the boring and technical, that's where the challenge starts, but also the opportunities. And I think the key for success here is leaning into personal branding and people-centric content, because what really makes difference in the B2B sector is not the great carousel post that you would share, but actually the human approach, because we as humans are so unique. Each of us bring a different element to what the commercial aspects, all of this. So I think leaning into personal branding, leveraging, all those specialists, experts, B2B companies have in-house is the key to success in B2B for the B2B businesses, but not all B2B brands are doing it because it's a big leap. It takes time. It definitely takes also, you have to take time to do the internal marketing. Social media managers working within B2B brands need to explain why they want to bring other employees in on social media, to talk, to create content with them. So I think, yes, the key is including people, because people always connect to people. That's a quote from Amelia Sordell, one of CEOs of cloud agency. And that human approach changes everything within B2B. So even though you have a very, let's say, boring or technical topic, the human aspect can make a real difference.
And getting employees to show up and be on camera, that's really easy, right? You've had no trouble, I'm sure, getting coworkers to say, "Yeah, yeah, I'll be on camera."
Well, I would love to say yes, but it is a real challenge because, first of all, it's not part of their role, right?
Yeah.
So not everybody is uh, feels comfortable in front of camera. So we need to cherry pick those that are willing to do so, that have the talent to do so. Usually, the sales team would be more inclined to do so because they're already they're so out there speaking to different people, speaking to your customers. So they might be less shy as well. So I would say let's start with the people with the commercial team, and through them you can then build your case, have the first success stories, and then push it further with other members of your team as well.
That's a great approach, and I couldn't agree more with your overall strategy of having that people first presence. It's something, Mark Schaefer, a longtime friend of mine and keynote speaker, he's been talking about, bringing that humanity into branding for years, even, I mean, pre-AI, which is saying
Mhm.
something. But I'm wondering, because we talked at the outset about how there's also a challenge of reaching the decision makers. What strategies have you found most effective for reaching decision makers on social media platforms?
So the strategy that I've found most efficient is through thought leadership. So it could be, your CEO or the C-suite, or as well also influencers as specialists that are very vocal about the topic, the subject that is related to your brand. So using them to reach those decision makers because they have years and years of experience within the field, and they surely already have that network. So especially, let's say, LinkedIn, that works on networks and connections. If an influencer, or let's say a CEO, shares content that is very knowledgeable and brings new insights into a topic, then all his connections will be notified about it. It will reach different also decision makers as well. So it's through that top down approach for sorry, that's right then. It's through this top-down approach that I think you can reach thought leaders and senior people within the industry.
And one of the things that I think what you're saying really speaks to is the complexity of sales in the B2B world, where, yeah, you might have, a C-suite executive or somebody like that who's the ultimate decision maker, but to your point, you've got several other people in that process. And that makes it not only more complex, but more time consuming. How have
Mhm.
you seen that come into play when it comes to your social media strategies? How can social media managers kind of align their efforts with these longer sales cycles and these complex buying processes?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, it is the sales cycles are so long, the touch points are so also multiple. So, your prospect might have seen your content or social media, then the person might have Googled you, then, they might have listened about you on through a podcast, they might have downloaded an ebook. So, you know, it is not just one source and then conversion right away, but so many different touch points. And I think the key here is to always communicate the progress, the journey of your work, using data, reporting, and regularly, like on monthly basis, communicating all those efforts with your team or with your senior leadership team, so that they are always aware of the efforts. And they also understand that B2B sales cycle are long, so they know. And if you manage their expectations and over communicate, but over communicate and under communicate, then I think this would really help B2B marketers to reach their goals, and also put themselves in the place of the key players that who are really who are senior enough and who are constantly communicating um, the process of the campaigns.
That is some really great advice and some things to avoid or not to do, right? The opposite of what you just said. And I know you're talking to B2B social media managers virtually every day in our communities and our other social channels. You're studying what other brands are doing. What are some other common mistakes that you're seeing B2B brands make on social media, and how can they be avoided?
I think the mistakes I keep seeing um, is basically brands being too corporate, too
Mhm.
official, brands speaking too much about themselves. So the posts that I typically find quite vanilla are, we are pleased to announce that, we are launching this and this product or service. Well, okay, this is nice for a brand, but like, how about your target audience? What excites them? What is the thing that they are looking for? I think it's too when brands are too focused on themselves, their agenda, their program, and they kind of forget their target audience. That's the main mistake that I keep seeing here. And the brands that actually succeed are those that put themselves in their target audience's shoes, and they also are willing to be a bit more creative. They are pushing the boundaries, and they think outside of the box. So instead of, let's go back to video content. So instead of just posting an image saying, oh, we are pleased to announce the release of this feature service, then using video content featuring your team members talking about the pain points of your target audience can make a real difference. So the step taking things to like further there will make a real difference. And not being kind of lazy, not just writing a post and hitting send. Uh, people need to make more effort in the content they are creating, and always putting themselves in the shoes of the target audience. And that's what we do a lot at Agorapulse as well. We understand the pain points of social media managers, community managers. We understand, what can make their lives easier. So from reporting, publishing, proving the value of their work, all of this is always part of the conversation. It's always on, let's say, my to-do list of things I really need to think about when I create content for Agorapulse. And I'm sure this is something also that you consider all day long when you speak to, with the industry, with your industry peers. I mean, you attend events, you always try to think about, the target audience and what are the solutions we can bring to help them.
Absolutely. In fact, there's two really core truths I think that you've shared there. The first is this idea that we have to know who our target audience is. And I think that's a step that far too many businesses and marketers overlook, really well defining that target audience so that they understand their pain points. They understand, what our previous guest Tamsin Webster talked about, their goals and aspirations. We don't always have to trigger our target audience with pain points. We can really talk to them about,
Exactly.
what do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to be? How can we help you get there as a brand? And you can't do that if you haven't had those conversations and gone through the process of documenting an ICP or a persona. But the other thing that you said that I think was really, really true, you talked about how not enough brands and marketers are going the extra effort of creating video. And I think the real core truth there is that they're afraid. They're afraid that, well, first of all, they might look bad on video. We all have that issue, right? We're afraid of appearing on video. I've been battling that, I'll be transparent, for years. This is not a comfort level for me, even today, despite all the video that I do. And I know that that's true for everybody, at least to start. And then there's also that fear that, hey, we're creating video on behalf of the brand. Is that going to perform well? There's more effort that goes into it, that sort of thing. I don't know if that's something you've battled with, either in your current role in the past, or how you've maybe worked around that or overcome that.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think, practice makes perfect. You can't, some people just have the natural ability to appear in front of the camera, and some don't. I don't, but I try to always push myself and, do it all the time. And it can always only go better. You learn from your mistakes, you improve, and then, you analyze, get better. And that's how it goes. You just have to put yourself out there, because otherwise you can read books, watch videos about how to make videos, but until you actually try it, you won't know, because it's so personal to each of us. So, you might be repeating specific words, you might using your hands too much. You won't know until you try.
That is exactly right. In fact, folks, go to our Agorapulse TikTok channel or Instagram Reels, and you'll see Evic creating some really interesting videos that are, in line with what those platforms are expecting. She's obviously putting herself out there. Folks, we're talking with Eva Tronova about some of the challenges facing B2B social media managers. And in a moment, we're going to get into data and analytics. So first, let me share with you a few more thoughts from renowned B2B marketer, Jay Baer.
Hey friends, this is Jay Baer, founder of Convince and Convert, and I want to take just a minute to tell you why I love Agorapulse. Now look, there's a ton of social media management tools out there, but Agorapulse has some really special features that my team and I really, really appreciate. I want to tell you about those. Now first, the mobile app for Agorapulse is really, really solid. I travel like 200 days a year, so the ability to check all of my social media accounts from an airport or wherever else I happen to be is a huge plus. Also, you have the ability to moderate YouTube from within Agorapulse. That's really handy too if you do a lot of videos, and you can oversee both paid and social media programs in the same place and at the same time. The team at Agorapulse is also super to work with. They're really responsive. They're a great, great group. It's high-powered, yet it's also affordable, and that's a combination I can get behind. If you haven't used Agorapulse yet, check it out.
So, Evic, one of the things that I love is when people are able to share very specific stories and use cases, because it really helps us understand in practical terms, what it is that we're talking about. So, I wonder if you could share a success story of how Agorapulse or one of our B2B customers has overcome, some of these significant social media challenges that we've been talking about today.
Yes, definitely. So one of the examples of, Agorapulse, using Agorapulse and our own features is, for example, the advocacy feature we use for recruitment. So when we are looking for the ideal candidate, the HR team, we work with the HR team to share those posts on social media, especially LinkedIn. So what our advocacy feature allows you to do is to create a curated list of advocates, internal and external, and then you can link to your post through the advocacy feature, and they will receive it in their email addresses, and then they can share, like, and comment under your post on social media. Let's say that LinkedIn, that works super well for us because last time the CEO shared an advocacy post about, because we were looking for a website manager, and we found one thanks to that. And So he sent us that advocacy email, and we all reshared it with our network. We commented for more reach. So this is one of the examples we internally use, advocacy feature. Another example I can share is one of our clients who is a big corporate, and they have one major they have a marketing person who leads the whole department, but also they also have smaller branches, and for each brand they have their own marketing coordinator. So this main person, sorry, the marketing manager who works within the central team would use advocacy feature to share content with the marketing coordinators of each branch, and she would share different company milestones, corporate messaging, so that the others could also share it on their LinkedIn profiles as well. So again, it helps you amplify your reach and increase your engagement as well, especially on LinkedIn, where you really want people to see your content and engage with it. This feature is really helpful for the B2B sector. I know that we have been also using to promote this podcast, and it's been working very well. So our diffusion list of external collaborators have been also sharing our podcast, and it definitely helped spreading the word about this amazing podcast. So yes, these three examples, I would say these are the main examples of how we use advocacy feature. Yes.
Yeah, no, I love those examples. In fact, I was just, as you know, excuse me, I was just, as you know, doing a walkthrough video with Adobe, and we'll link to that in the show notes for you guys, because I walked through step by step and showed on screen a demo of how to use our advocacy feature for both internal and external advocates. But I'm wondering if, like, what you think in terms of the importance of employee advocacy, particularly when it comes to B2B brands and their social media efforts, and maybe if you've got some best practices that you might share for folks.
Yeah, it's really important because, if we go back to personal branding and that people-centric approach, at the beginning, the employees might feel a bit resistant to, post content themselves, share themselves, create it themselves. So actually, the employee advocacy can be the first step for them to just reshare, comment under your post. So it can be that entry level kind of, thing for them to start their personal brand, to start really engaging with content, with the branded content. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more that with the advocacy in place, you're making it extremely easy for your employees to help advocate on behalf of your brand, whether they're sharing an open position or an event or a new blog post or a podcast, whether they're sharing that to their own channels or they're engaging with a post that you've already created as a brand. You're making it super easy. You're not just saying, "Hey, Mike, we'd like you to share this post to your social channels," full stop. Because then it's all up on me. What am I sharing? When am I going to share it? I got to come up with with copy. I've got to come up with a caption and that sort of thing. And a busy employee, like we talked about salespeople earlier, right? They're some of the busiest people in the company. They've got huge quotas and deadlines that they're trying to meet. They don't have time to write up a tweet. As simple as that might sound to some of you listening, they just don't have that kind of time. But if you hand them the tweet, if you hand them a button in an email that says click here in a post, they're happy to help you out with that sort of thing. So I love that we talked about advocacy. I do want to switch gears a little bit though, because I promised folks we talk about data and analytics. And I think that's a hugely important part of every successful social media manager's role. So what role do you think that plays, particularly in refining B2B social media strategies?
Yeah, analytics is the backbone of everything we do because, you can be sharing content out there, brainstorming about the best ideas. But if you don't have analytics to, have that feedback on if your content work or not, then you're just shooting in the dark, right? So at Agora Pulse, what I do is every month I can easily generate monthly reports, I can just click on a button, and it just creates itself. So I can receive that in my email, and then I can see all information about our demographics, target audience, the best performing post, the best day to post as well for engagement, and so on, depending on the platform that I'm pulling the data from. And from that, every time at the beginning of the month, then I would just sit down and see what type of post worked, which one didn't work, and then I can just refine the next month accordingly. And if I didn't have the reporting, it would just be shooting in the dark, as I said. And also, if you just go natively, that the data you have available is quite limited, and everything is so manual. When you go in the inside section of Instagram, you have to write everything down manually. You can't just click a button and export everything in your Excel sheet. So I think having this process automated saves so much time, and you can then easily analyze everything and gain new insights for your next month.
Talk to me about the additional tracking capabilities that Agorapulse has when you're sharing blog posts, job openings, events, these kinds of things. What else does Agorapulse do for us in those kinds of situations?
That's a good question. So we have track URL links within Agorapulse that you can generate actually within the publishing window. So let's say that you write a post, you create a post for LinkedIn, you add a URL link, and then you can actually click on a button that tracks your link. You can also create like a UTM link, so you can give a name to your campaign and so on. And then at the end of the month, you can see which post converted or not. So that's one. And then we have this super powerful feature called social media ROI, which basically brings everything together. And it's amazing because you can also see which platform had the most conversions. So let's say if it was LinkedIn that brought more people to your website than Twitter, let's say, then that you should be focusing all your efforts in LinkedIn. You can also define the value of the event because it is connected to Google Analytics. So basically, you don't need to all the time go to Google Analytics. You just need to set it up correctly. And then it just goes, it just runs by itself. And every month you just have the data available. And that has been a game changer for me, because I would naturally be more, for example, focusing on Instagram, but actually it's LinkedIn for us that works so well. So that's why, since for like 2 months now, I've been focusing on LinkedIn. And I think, that helps you also focus your resources and not waste your time somewhere else, and reach your target audience. Because if your target audience is active on LinkedIn, let's say, then you should be there and you should be creating content that resonates with them.
Yeah, that Google Analytics integration is huge. Being able to bring that data back into the social media reports that you're providing to your manager, or those of you listening, you need to provide reports to your boss and your C-suite executives and be able to show off. This is what we did last month. And you're able to draw a direct line between specific social posts and specific activities that happen on the website. And honestly, one of my favorite points is that it automatically tracks links that you might share in a comment or even a direct message. So all of a sudden, dark social isn't so dark anymore. We can track all that activity and behavior and results. But I just have one more question for you, Evik. I was hoping that
Chris.
you could share with us a little bit of behind the scenes in terms of how you are getting ahead as a social media manager. What are some of the resources or tools that you're recommending or you're using that B2B social media managers like yourself who want to stay ahead of industry trends and best practices could lean on?
So the first one I use is our internal one that is called Social Media Trends, which is free for everyone. So it is a report that shows you the trends for each platform. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and X, Twitter. You can adjust the region where you are, so that interests you. So let's say if I am interested in LinkedIn data in France and also the specific industry, I can do that. I can just click on, you know, those filters, and it will show me the best days to post for engagement, the best type of content that actually engage people on that platform. So let's say on Instagram, people might have been posting a lot of photos, but it's actually video content that is working well on Instagram. So this is something I use also to inform my, you know, posting for next month. So that's our internal tool that is free for everyone. I would definitely recommend, you know, social media managers to test it out. And if not, I also share updates about that tool every month to our social media platforms, so you can always find it there. The second resource I use is naturally social media today. So I know this is not specifically B2B, but it's good for every social media manager just to stay ahead of all the trends that are happening, because none of the updates and trends are happening, you know, in isolation. So it's good for you to understand the overall background, overall context. The other source that I use is, of course, LinkedIn, where I follow a lot of marketing experts, social media people, you know, that share, first of all, like all the updates, but also, you know, their thoughts and their learnings about the development of social media. I think you also follow many of the ones that I follow. So Anne May Hodge, for example, is one of my favorites because every week she's sharing the top updates in social media. Matt Navarro, of course, is one of the classics. There's so many of those, but I think it's good for, you know, social media managers to kind of curate their own LinkedIn feed by following the companies they're interested in and the social media professionals that they admire and that they're inspired by, so that you can always stay on top of everything. And of course, you know, different newsletters. It depends on your specialization on the sector within the B2B that you're focused on. But, you know, always dedicate that time every week to learn about the industry updates and about the algorithm updates, because it's now happening on a daily basis. I think many social media managers have almost this trauma of, you know, seeing Adam Mosseri's videos popping up on their feed as well. I know if you have it too. But basically, yeah, he now appears in front of the camera, and, you know, that goes back to what we said earlier about, you know, having the team appearing in front of the camera to explain, to share those insights. It just makes it feel more personable as well. So yeah, Adam Mosseri definitely about all those little or big updates that are happening on a daily basis on Instagram.
Those are great recommendations. I love this 1-2 punch of social media today and Annie Mae Hodge, because Andrew McCutcheon, a longtime friend of mine, is doing a fantastic job at social media today, doing deep dives into, you know, what has changed today on these platforms that we're working on day in and day out. And then Annie Mae Hodge is her weekly Cliffs Notes, basically, of here's everything that happened in the past 7 days. So follow those guys, follow everyone that you just mentioned. Evik, this is fantastic. And you've been amazing. Thank you so much. For those who want to reach out and learn more and connect with you, where can they go?
Well, you can connect with me and follow me on LinkedIn. I'm regularly sharing content that I post on, you know, Agora polls. I also repost content from other social media managers, and also, you know, message me on LinkedIn, because I think, you know, creating this community of social media managers is so important. And, you know, talking to each other, understanding, you know, the first-hand experience is very a very good thing. I recently reached out to social media strategist of one SaaS brand, and, you know, we just had 2 calls about our roles in general and the challenges that we encounter. And it's really, you know, you don't feel alone in this, and you know that there are other people out there that are having the same challenges, or they can, you know, share insights that can help you, and vice versa. So always stay connected, and yeah, LinkedIn is the go-to platform.
Terrific. Thank you. And thank you all of you for listening. We'll have all the links and all the resources that we talked about today in the show notes below. And don't forget to find Social Pulse Podcast B2B Edition on Apple and drop us a review. We'd love to know what you think. Until next time. Thank you for joining another episode of Social Pulse Podcast B2B Edition, hosted by Mike Halton and powered by AgoraPulse, the leading social media management solution. Learn more at agorapulse.com. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and leave us a review. We value your feedback and look forward to bringing you more useful insights.